Okay.
I pledge
pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the
and to the
republic
republic for which it
stands
stands
one
nation under God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
liberty
and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Okay, Bob, could you give the roll call, please?
Sure. Wonder Jim here. Hybar.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Orm.
Here.
Palmer.
Here.
Persky.
Here.
Buck.
Here.
Yeah.
As a courtesy to members of the audience and the Board of Education, please place your audio on mute until you wish to speak. Public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. Public comment, any person wishing to address the board may speak at this time. Any person wishing to address the board should sign up through the Google document provided. When it is your turn, the board president will call upon you and your ability to speak via Zoom will be allowed. Presentations are limited to 5 minutes. At this time, we have no one for public comment. So can I have an approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Consent action, can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support?
Yes. Support.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So we've got a few regular action items. And so remember, try to allow the folks presenting to present. So first item, network infrastructure expansion. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the minutes. Oops, I'm sorry. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the purchase of 7 Cisco network switches, 21 Cisco IP phones, and necessary software licensing from Presidio for the total purchase of $66,506.50. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
And I'm looking at Heather. Recommended by Heather. Roger?
Sure. So with the purchase of the Grandville Education Center and the construction that is scheduled to take place over the summer and be completed for some of our classrooms to be using in the fall, it's important that we have infrastructure there. And so this includes necessary hardware, licensing, wired data, voice connectivity, and so on for the Grandville Education Center.
Question with regard to the overall support from a fiber perspective. Do we have consistent wiring in this as we do other buildings, Raj?
We don't currently. Currently, the Pathways program is connected with a VPN connection through a Comcast internet. This project, with purchase of the building, we are running a full 10 gig fiber connection to the building. So as part of this, that will be connected to this network infrastructure.
Hey, Walt, who's the service provider running that connection?
The current connection that we have?
Yeah, and assuming it's the same provider for that facility?
So currently the internet connection and VPN connection runs over a Comcast internet connection. When we switch to a dedicated fiber connection to that building, then it will have access to the same AT&T connection that the rest of the district utilizes.
Okay, all right, great.
Anybody else? Okay, we're going to do a roll call vote, please.
All right. Hybar.
Yes.
Thank you. Klein.
Yes.
Orm.
Yes.
Persky.
Yes.
Palmer.
Yes.
Wonder Jim, yes. Buck.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Next item is the KISD budget resolution. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the attached resolution expressing support for the Kent Intermediate School District's 2020-2021 general fund budget. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Excellent. And Roger?
Sure. I'm going to double team this one with Heather. Section 624 revised school code. We have to review the ISD's budget and either approve or not approve a resolution. The resolution has a portion that says, yes, we've been informed of their budget, and yes, we support it. And then there's another piece that says, yes, we've been informed, and no, we do not. If we do not, then we will go back to them with whatever areas we have concern about. But anyway, bringing this resolution to you to review. And, normally they will give us the general fund, but in the spirit of transparency, they've given us several other accounts as well. And Heather will take it from here.
So I'm gonna, if you would follow along on page 29, I guess the biggest thing is the general fund assumptions that are used. They are projecting 3.5% increase in property tax collections, 10% decrease in non-grant state aid. And what that means is they do get some state funding for operating costs. However, it's not on necessarily on a per pupil basis like we do. So the other reduction is in their investment income for the general fund. Also with the decline in interest rates, they're projecting a reduction there. Overall, for their general fund, still looking at about a $605,000 reduction for the next school year. If we continue on, a lot of those same assumptions follow through to the special education fund. I do want to touch on that one because that is a rather large fund. And again, too, I guess I should clarify, the ISD is mainly funded through tax revenue, property tax revenue. So they're again looking at a 3.5% increase in property tax collections for their special education fund, and 1% reimbursed, a reduction of 1% on reimbursement eligible costs. So I think they're looking at a trend of potentially a loss of, I guess, students there from that perspective. And that has to do a little bit too with the Medicaid billable amounts. So, and this was a larger, because this is a larger fund, they anticipate a $375,000 reduction in investment income from the prior school year to this school year. So a lot of that funding does come back. Portions of that funding do come back to the district. So, but overall, looking at an ending fund balance there of 8.7 million with a $2.1 million addition to their fund balance for their special education fund. And then similarly, CTE, same type of thing, an increase of 3.5% in property tax collections, and then a 10% decrease to their section 61 and 62 state funding. They're looking at an $850,000 reduction in fund balance, or $850,000 expenditures over revenue for the year, and ending at a $9 million fund balance in that account as well. So those are the big three for them. The resolution is really, again, just for the general fund, but they wanted to provide the additional information for transparency purposes. If you have any questions, let me know.
Heather,
Yep.
a couple things. Under special ed, it seems that they're going to keep straight open again. or Raj, maybe you can answer that. Are they looking to either lease or build another facility in the near future for their transition programs?
I am not clear. The last time I talked to Mr. Kniff, they knew that Straight was in bad shape. They were debating whether they were going to put some serious money into renovating it or look for another spot to create another area for programming. Yes. So I'm not sure where they're at right now, but I can certainly connect with him and get back with you.
Because when you look at Straight itself, and there's $1 million there, and Lincoln is in dire need of upgrading as well. So that $1 million doesn't seem like it would do much to both of those facilities, given the needs for both. So that's why I'm asking that question.
I would agree. One of the other options too that I recall talking to Ron was finding a facility that a current Kent County district had too, and maybe running something out of there. So I can certainly ask about that. Mr. Phillips, their business person, did not talk about that during this, but I certainly can find out and get back with you.
Great. And then Heather, on their general fund, you know, isn't that where we have our social workers and our shared staffing? Isn't that out of their general fund?
Yes,
And is that going to continue in the next school year?
yes, it will, yes. And those are the amounts too. So they're under our contract, however, paid by the ISD, and some of that has to do with reporting purposes. And we then, the way they are able to bill back for them, we then get a portion of those funding stream back. So it's around $60,000 annually to run that through them.
It's dropping. Okay. Overall, from my perspective, I think this presentation that they provided is one of the best they've ever done, other than just providing us numbers every year for us trying to figure it out. So they gave a great summary of that. So if you could pass that on, you know, it's appreciated.
I will do that.
All right. Anybody else? I agree with Bob. Very extensive, a lot of paper. Okay. So all in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you. All right. Next item is the spring 2020 backup appliance replacement. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the purchase of a Cisco Cohesity backup appliance of $53,934.13 and a necessary Cisco switch infrastructure for $15,256.32 from Presidio for a total purchase price of $69,190,045. Can I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Support?
Support.
Excellent. Roger.
Sure, and I'll turn this one over to, I believe, Walt.
Okay, this purchase will replace, so currently the district's data is backed up to 3 separate data domain backup appliances that are located out at Century Park Learning Center. Though 2 out of the 3 appliances are reaching their end of life and end of support. So it's something as critical as backing up the district's data. We're looking to replace all 3 of those appliances with a single Cisco Cohesity backup solution. The implementation of this solution will dramatically reduce the backup time for backing up all of the district's data and virtual servers. And it will also allow for future expansion if we want to, for example, begin backing up or archiving some of the data into the cloud for an additional offsite backup solution.
Well, so we don't do any offsite as well as a
No,
secondary?
we do not. All of the data, all of the district's data is backed up, obviously, out to Century Park, about as far away as I could get from the administration building, but still be part of the fast Grandville network. But no, currently we don't back up to a cloud solution or anything like that. But this implementation would give us that opportunity.
Okay. Do you know how long before we would start doing that? Next year?
It could be even sooner than that. Really, this solution has the capability of turning that cloud backup ability on day one. It would just be an additional financial commitment to buy storage space in like the Amazon cloud or Microsoft Azure or one of those cloud solutions. So we'd have to look at different pricing and storage options there, but we could potentially do that right away.
Is that expensive?
It's actually not. They have different tiers of pricing depending on how frequently you think you'll access the data and how quick you want to be able to access the data. So
Okay.
pricing varies wildly. You know, if you want to be able to access it really quickly and on the fly, then it can be a bit higher. But if it's, you know, more of an archiving solution, then it's not too bad.
Okay. Great.
So,
Oh.
I'm sorry, I just had a quick question.
Go ahead.
So we have the main server or the domain backup appliances that we're replacing, correct?
Correct.
And you're proposing to replace it with this Cisco Cohesity, right?
Correct. Yep.
And then the new switch, though, allows us to get a cloud backup capability, right?
No, the new switch allows for the new backup appliance to connect to our network at a faster rate. One of the goals of replacing the existing backup hardware is to reduce the backup time. So for example, currently the main file server for Grandville starts its full backup on Friday at 4 o'clock, and it usually finishes Monday sometime early in the morning. So to try and reduce that time down so we can get a quicker backup, we need a faster piece of network hardware, and that's what that is.
Okay.
Do we
But
run
you're also,
differentials?
Sorry, what was that?
Do we run differentials?
So we do a full backup of everything on the weekend, and then we do an incremental throughout the week.
Okay.
so you're anticipating the need to add more capability to do not just physical backups, but also cloud storage backups as well. Is that what I guess I'm reading here?
Correct. This appliance would give us the ability to do that. It doesn't necessarily purchase the additional storage space out in the cloud, but the appliance has the capability of doing it.
Okay, I guess I'm just trying to understand because right now we have one backup. We're backing up to a physical server right now, or a physical appliance right now, and then this is going to allow us to do it to a physical appliance as well as cloud. So we'd have duplication of our backup. Is that what you're saying?
Yep, that's correct.
Is there a reason for that? Is that a best practice or?
Yes, redundancy is the best practice.
Correct. Yep. So
And we just don't have that now then.
Correct. If a tornado was to come through Grandville and wipe out the administration
Both buildings.
and Century Park at the same time, we would be in trouble. If we had a cloud backup solution, then we could fall back to that.
Is there a reason we just don't go to cloud and just be done with it?
Not necessarily. I mean, obviously cost is a factor. That's that's one of the.
Hey, Walt,
Yeah.
the wide area network that's going to be connecting the entire county, that also will eventually connect with a lot of other counties around the state. That's probably a good opportunity for another backup system, correct? That's offsite and probably a lot cheaper, since there are a lot of different districts that might be able to share in the pain of that, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Once we have fiber connectivity and fast network connectivity to the ISD, the ISD could we could buy a redundant appliance to house our data that would be housed out there, or you're right, if the ISD wanted to look at doing some consortium pricing for an appliance that, you know, that all of the districts in Kent County could share, that could be an option as well.
I have a funny feeling they're going to help us out with that.
Nice.
Awesome. All right, any other questions? With this purchase, we will take a roll call, please.
All right. Wonder Jim, yes. Palmer,
Yes.
Highbauer,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Orm,
Yes.
Persky,
Yes.
Buck.
Yes. All right. Next item on the agenda, let's spend some money. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the purchase of playground equipment from Landscape Structures in the amount of $63,972. In addition, it is recommended that the Board of Education approve the purchase of rubber surfacing and installation of the playground equipment from Pintura in the amount of $73,075. The grand total of the purchase of equipment and installation is $137.47. $137.47. So, Roger, do I have a motion?
So
So
moved.
moved. Support.
Excellent. Roger.
Okay, so you'll recall last board meeting, we showed you the design for the playground. So, you know, and we also talked to you about GMB and our district administration having multiple design meetings with our preschool staff and our treehouse staff to come up with a design. These are always so much fun just to listen to people and you know, talk about everything from you know, early childhood, what kids would love to do, fine gross motor skills, inclusion, you name it. So they came up with a great design, and you can see some of the stuff here before you, and I'll turn it over to Heather to add a little bit too.
Yeah, so this was so far one of the most fun projects to kind of be a part of, and it was really great to hear the interaction between ECSE teachers, treehouse teachers, preschool teachers. They had great ideas, and I'm going to go back to this drawing here a little bit because while you're approving the playground equipment and the rubber and that, there will be more here. You know, we will have that paved track. One of the coolest things that was talked about was accessibility for kids, and there's going to be a hill that kids can climb up and then a slide, so they can slide down and they won't need the typical ladder steps. So again, there'll be a shade structure, some trees, and then just wanted to give you a visual of what the equipment looks like for the kiddos. So any questions?
Heather, so with Pintura here, if they're out of the other side of the state, there's obviously they're preferred or they're recommended. There aren't any other installers on this side of the state?
This was purchased off a contract recommended by GMB, and I think it's part of the their preferred installers of landscape structures. So,
And are we going to put in real trees with all this rubberized material?
yeah, so the rubber material, if I come back here, you can kind of see it's an orange shaded
Oh, okay.
geometric
The rest
figure.
is going to be grass.
Yeah, this is all grass.
Okay.
So,
All right. Great. Thank you.
And a trike track, right?
correct. In this circle area here, we'll have some different activities too, similar to like a basketball hoop, but at a lower level.
Looks great.
Yep, and around the outside, I know we mentioned this last time, but you have fencing, you have bollards, and so on. Just so double safety here around this spot.
Are we on track for the summer installation?
Yes, let's see, Thursday, construction is, just to provide you a quick update, pretty much all the projects that you've approved, we're gonna be able to start, back up, so, 2 to 3 week lead time on the equipment, and yes, everything is on schedule at this point.
Okay, I just want to reiterate, back up on Bob, just that, a message to GMB that, we've always been this way when we're moving forward with projects to keep things local. So just at this time, just a reminder, I mean, this is swell and they go together in a package, but it'd be great to be able to do things locally. So
When you think of the current, where we're at, trying to feed West Michigan families, to me, is a little bit more important than the other side of the state.
Yep, and we'll reiterate that to them. We meet with them weekly, and I will go over that with them Friday morning.
I mean, we want the best, but West Michigan's got some pretty good suppliers too. Looks nice.
Just
over
one,
there.
very nice. One other quick thing as we're moving forward with a lot of these purchases too, is I'm hearing of lots of subcontractors giving discounts for pre-purchasing equipment. So if there's something down the road, so these guys don't have to hang their money out there for purchase and then waiting on lead times. Like I say, subcontractors have been eager to give discounts, as have the manufacturers of various products, that if we're willing to prepay, there's a pretty substantial discount. So, and it reminds me a little bit about what we did with the pool. So I know there's a 2-3 week lead time. We should be fine with that. So just something else to keep in mind, and wholeheartedly agree with Michigan contractors, Michigan suppliers, and Michigan installers, as West Michigan, I should say, to piggyback on what Bob and Christy said.
okay, anybody else? All right, let's do a roll call on this fun project.
Highbauer,
Yes.
Farm,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Wonder Jim, yes. Persky,
Yes.
Palmer,
Yes.
Buck.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, Roger, you are up with our district goal review.
Okay, thanks. So gonna pop up a, well, actually, I'm gonna go review the 3 goals that we had. The first one, Grandville Public Schools Administrative Leadership Team will be involved in a year-long comprehensive learning experience focusing on the following progression in regards to equity, inclusion, and diversity. You can see a spring report would be compiled and presented to you in regards to our growth and learning. We had several sessions with a facilitator, Eric Foster from Progress Strategies Plus, and that report has been sent to you. And if we can just pop that open now, Heather, since I think you're the master of the attachments right now. Thank you. So in here you will see, like I said, each session that all of our administrative team participated in. We started out with a pre-assessment based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. Each of us received a score in regards to where we're at on our growth, and that was a confidential piece. And then from there, that gave our facilitator an idea of where we were at, and it really helped in his moving us forward with the facilitation of each of those meetings. Also with each meeting in this report later on are the scores of how we responded to the sessions. I want to be clear about something because it's very easy when we talk about diversity and equity inclusion and what that means in Grandville. You may recall our discussions were about what our data is telling us. And what our data is telling us is we have 3 subpopulations of students who, when we compare to our entire population, there is a disparity or a gap in the data. And those three populations are our students with disabilities, our students in poverty, and our students of color. So when we look through this training, and we were looking at establishing goals, we were looking at through it with that lens. And that is the important thing to remember. It's not just race, it's not just poverty, it's not just students with disabilities, it's all three and could change over time. So we need to be very in tune to what our data tells us, where our gaps are, and develop strategies for how we intend to close those gaps with the populations that have those disparities. So I want to be clear about that, because sometimes when people think of diversity, they have their own understanding of what they think diversity is. And for Grandville Public Schools, right now it's those three populations. And if our data changes, it could change in regards to that. But those are very common populations of students where there are evident disparities. We have a lot of data that shows we can be very proud at the same time with those three populations, because we do have pockets of excellence throughout our district with each of those, and we really look closely at those strategies or ways we are implementing things to learn from that as well in other places where there might be gaps. So I just wanted to be very clear about that. So you can see the sessions that were here. We learned about a lot of screening tools. We learned a lot. We looked at a lot of research. We looked at a lot of case studies of districts that had similar population disparities. And we looked at districts that did close the gap and strategies that they used to close the gap. So, you know, I think you'll see that in the evaluation from our administrators. We learned a great deal. From that, we established some goals. And as you go later on in this report that you have, you'll see the goals that we have. One of the first ones being creating a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee. And really, that committee will have, along with some of the trainings we had and the tools we have for looking with a lens at the different populations, they will really help us set the course and make sure these goals are completed. So they will ultimately be the committee that as a whole district, we will answer to as far as accountability goes in these areas, and they will also help us guide the work when there should be maybe an area or a building that isn't doing strong in one of these. They will help that building with support. So feel very good about the process. It's really been a 1.5 year process. I know there are some people that are on right now that were a part of that. John, Scott, either one of you want to chime in? If they're able.
Yeah, I'm here,
Okay.
and I'm happy to jump in. I think for me personally, when I saw my first score, I was shocked at what it said to me, and then so I was grateful that I received it, because I think I believed that I exuded something very different than what I did. And I think the most important part of the training was it allowed us to really dig deep into who we were and how we were being perceived outside of our own skin, even though we felt maybe we were doing something in one way or another, and then give us a view of how multiple groups of people might see that in a very different way. So I thought it was incredible. It was great to be able to go through that same process with all of our peers, have us all, I didn't find a single person who was closed in the moment. And I just think that speaks volumes for the people that we have with us.
Yeah, and I would echo that and share that it really did force you to peel back some things and confront some realities in a different perspective. but made it really safe. And like Roger said, it was about an 18-month process, which was one of the real benefits, because we were able to dig into not only starting with our own foundation, but really dig into some strategies. And one of my big takeaways, I reflected back on my time as a building principal, just practical strategies, focusing on the importance of purposeful inclusion, because I'd always questioned that. And so it was very personal, yet very foundational for us as an admin group.
I just want to commend the group. What a huge commitment for everybody. And, you know, I read the report, and the fact that he saw that better than average group calculation, and that's a very positive indicator of exemplary participation from GPS leadership team. So I just want to commend you. I just think this is money well spent, and especially for our district moving forward.
Any other questions?
I have a question. So as these goals are reached, do you have outcomes that you're looking for, or is it just we will have these 3 strategies and these 4? Oh, I see the measurements there. So I haven't read the report yet, but is it further in depth than those specifics on the goals?
Yes, they are. The goals and strategies are there. You know, ultimately the measurement, there are several screening tools we're able to use with kids, with parents, and, you know, the primary goal is to, you know, we want that gap to decrease. So as far as our achievement goes, you know, we fully expect to be closing the achievement gap even more than we have using strategies from these different goals. So very excited about
I have another
these.
question.
Sure.
I just wondered, so the gaps in these folks, are they all academic gaps, or are they around any other type of like behavioral gaps or social, or just a combination of everything?
Yes, it's a combination.
Okay.
It's everything from academic achievement to attendance to behavioral referrals, disciplinary action. Variety.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions about goal number 1? Okay. So moving along, goal number 2, the superintendent will establish a diverse group of students in each building to meet with on a bi-monthly basis to gather feedback regarding their educational experience in Grandville. Meetings will provide student input, open communication, what's happening in our district, and a summary will be presented to the board in regards to this. And I have to admit, this was, I had so much fun, and at the same time, a lot of learning came from this one. So Heather, if you can go to their conversations with our students. So just to summarize some of theirs, I broke them down into different pieces here. As far as learning, realizing we don't learn at the same time, you know, we don't learn things the same time, same rate. They feel like we do that pretty well in our schools. They believe our staff and friends see that in all of this and understood that it's not typically looked down upon. So if you learn in a different way, they see our teachers and they see other students as understanding that is an okay thing for the most part. So it was nice to hear that from them. They feel comfortable making mistakes. They were the ones that said we learn from our mistakes. So it's okay to make those. And somebody even quoted Einstein, a person who never made a mistake, never tried anything. And I thought that was really, really neat for them to see. They really, in our education that we provide, and right now, Lord knows they're going through it, appreciate flexibility in the learning. They love active, engaged, hands-on, collaboration, small groups, projects, and minimal being talked to or at. They do see the importance of some lecture, but they said, you know, if I go into a classroom and I'm talked at for a class period, I don't really feel like I'm engaged or I'm learning a great deal. And again, while sometimes they understand that does have to happen and it is important in certain parts of our instruction. Again, they believe that teachers also recognize that they don't all learn in the same way or the same rates. And they ask us at times, how can I help you learn better? Think about that from a teacher saying to a student, how can I help you learn better? Nothing more powerful from that, because we know our students know what works for them and what doesn't work. We can't just assume that the way we learn and a lot of times, therefore, the way we teach is the only way or the right way. So again, very powerful there. They do believe that we have high expectations for their learning, and they do appreciate when a teacher asks them questions about their experience in class and again, how the teacher can make it better. Safety, talked about that. They feel quite safe at school. I said, well, why do you feel safe at school? They believe the relationships with the adults, noticing when something's not right, noticing when something's not right with them or something's not right with the environment. And I thought that was very powerful. I believe that's the first letter in nice of be nice, huh? Relationships with adults and noticing that. So entryways, they said our entryways are secure. Not anyone can just come in and go where they want to. They know we have cameras. The procedures we have in place, not letting people inside doors. They said they're routinely told, you know, we do not allow people in. We don't let people in, and here's why. And they've had discussions with their teachers and with staff about, again, noticing unusual behaviors or actions in their peers and in other people. Metal detectors. I said, well, because we were talking, what's something that could really ramp up safety for you? And they weren't really sure about that. And I said, well, what about metal detectors? And the response was interesting. They said it would only create drama and it would be overpriced versus how they would actually help. They're too restrictive and too time consuming. One student I know told me that he has a friend that is in a school that has metal detectors, and one day his friend got pulled aside and he said that the social emotional stress that put his friend under us, and even though they found he didn't have anything, can't remember what it was that triggered off the metal detector, there were a lot of rumors and so on this world. So they just said it's not worth the money, and it's not worth the time. Stressors. I asked them, you know, what stresses you? One thing was unanimous, and that's homework. And so that's something, you know, as administrative staff and staff in general, we'll talk about, you know, at every level, our kids said they had too much homework or the timing of the homework. And they said a lot of times, you know, especially in the middle school and high school, when you have different classes, everyone seemed, you know, they don't seem to talk, they talk in departments, but among departments don't talk as much about homework. And so they might all have you know, tests on the same day coming up, or a project due, you know, they'll have 3 or 4 projects due on one day and so on. And they said that tends to be a stressor for them. So if teachers could talk more, communicate more, and try to spread those out. Weekends, the importance of family came up, and you know, even if we have homework, if it could be a family activity of some sort, they're getting a lot of family time right now, so they, you know, it might be very different now, but anyway, that was brought up as well. They were aware of the research. I said, do you know any research on homework? And they said, yeah, there's no connection between homework and achievement. They knew what that research said, and I thought that was very interesting. They do understand as far as responsibility, as far as you know, having you know, discipline to get things done, and yes, to maybe things you've already learned to be able to expand on that a little bit. is good in homework, but not the busy work stuff that we can see at times. They saw the importance of grades, social life stressors, friends and family, sometimes trying to balance all that in this world. Talked about cell phones. They do not believe a ban is the way to go. I just point blank said, what do you tell me about cell phones? Should we get rid of them? Should we? They don't believe that. They said the more you restrict them, the more we think about who might be calling, who might be texting, and then it's kind of overload when we do get to that. They said don't blanket everyone because some individuals don't have the responsibility. They do believe that breaks from the phone are good. In class, our teachers do use strategies, whether it's putting it in a pocket, having certain things that they do see the importance of that, and they do believe that at the same time it's important to do that for responsibility and because we are here after all for learning. So they do believe that part is important. And as you can see the rest as you move through there. The big thing they said about cell phones is teach us. We don't use it. If we don't use it appropriately, we need to have consequences and then reteach. And eventually, if we don't learn to follow it, we can't have it. Point blank. So
I'm kind of interested who they think are going to be calling them if everybody doesn't have their phone.
Right. Yeah, I'm not sure. The thing that really hits home with me, and these were main things, and these were not, you look at these, you might think most of these could be high school kids, and they're not. Some of these are high school, but this is upper elementary on up.
Okay.
With these. So I didn't get in, this cell phone, you can see high school students. I really zeroed in on them because to me, that's mainly a high school issue and wanted to get some input there. But these other areas, matter of fact, the quote from Einstein came from a fourth grader. So, those types of things were priceless to me that I heard.
That's
I'm
great.
really curious now that we're going through this pandemic, some of the responses to things and how they'll approach some of these things as we go into next year. This is something I fully intend to, while it might not be one of our primary 3 goals next year, 2 to 3 goals, I do plan on continuing this because I really do see the importance of it as topics come up. And I think next year more than ever, it would be a great thing to do to really see where kids are at with certain things that we're experiencing right now.
I'd be curious about if you noticed any patterns or differences when separating these kind of questions among different age groups, cell phones aside. Because I get, a sense as a parent having kids span multiple age groups throughout the districts of very different cultures within our buildings in terms of beliefs about things like homework, equity, just flexibility. And I'm wondering if you noticed any of that reflected in the conversations with the students, that there wasn't maybe areas where they didn't kind of match the same experience in your conversations between grade levels.
Yeah, really the only consistent was the homework part. That I heard everywhere. As far as something that I think we really need to focus on and look at. I think the relationship piece, the connection with their teachers, do your teachers care about you? How do you know your teachers care about you? They talked about, they're always asking, how can I help you learn? What can I do better? Things like that. And remember, these were very diverse groups of students. It was a cross section of everyone that we have. So, and I was very impressed with the confidence that they had. I do some icebreaker things with them early on, but they told me what they thought. They were not shy at all, and I don't care which grade it was. they really did a nice job communicating, and I tried to, you know, constantly use why, or why do you think that, or you know, to try to get them to expand. But no, not really, Kim. Didn't see that.
It would be really interesting to see this same conversation with students post COVID.
Right.
So what changed up? Obviously, you know, safety wouldn't be a concern, but then who knows? I mean, it's the same.
Right.
Well, yeah, I was to say, even now, I mean, have the conversation, right? What other stressors now?
You know,
Because, I mean, if it's anything like I see in my house, there's no homework anymore. So what are the things that are, you know, as we look at this new model? I mean, not to say there's no homework, but I mean, it's not like they're staying up at night doing it,
Yeah.
right? They're doing it during the day and it's done.
Says
Right.
you.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Mine are doing it at 1 a.m., but
Well, they start at 11 p.m. I can't even vouch for that.
will be.
I still had, you know, with us ending in March, I ironically had, I believe, a mid-March and a May left. So I didn't get a chance to continue to meet with them. But like I said, I'm going to meet with them and I'll be so excited when it happens, when we're back in school and able to get together and have, you know, conversations. So I'll bring that back to her. For sure.
Even I guess I was just encouraged, even if you could do something between now and the end of the school year, right? Just, you know, because there are things on here that, you know, do, you know, still make sense, right? They're learning. What's their learning experience like? Do they still feel that engagement with their teachers in this changed model, right? And if, does that highlight something for us that if we do get back into the situation in the fall that we have to adjust?
Right, and we'll be doing parent surveys. We are getting feedback now, and we'll get feedback from our kids on that, because as we move into looking at next year, we are going to have to look at different scenarios.
Yeah.
I do like how you emphasize how they mentioned how they notice when someone isn't right or something's not right. And I just love that's the first step in really doing something about something, is when you notice it and notice it's not right. So I just love it. Our work is making a difference.
Roger, I think it's great that this is one of your goals, because I used to survey my kids at the end of the year, and they were always pretty insightful and pretty smart. It was interesting to hear their observations. They weren't always the greatest. I certainly learned from them, but I think it's important to hear from our students.
Definitely. Thanks. All right, and number 3, have not made it there yet. We were going to start this in the spring, and something called COVID-19 happened, and it would be kind of hard to get people together to talk about strategic planning for the next 3 to 5 years when you're so focused on the here and now and what we were going through. So my recommendation on this one is just to table it and look at it as a next year goal. You'll recall I had a 1-page sample I'd shown you before, and to really do this the right way, you have to get community input, student input, staff input, obviously board input, all of our different stakeholder groups, and really take a look at it. So I think there'll be a better time, and I think people will look at it through a different lens if we're doing it next year as well, because we have learned some things, I'm sure, from this time. So that one didn't happen. So
my perspective on that, Raj, is it becomes a priority in the next school year. So it's easy to give it a pass, right? Based on where we're at. But the importance of a strategic plan needs to go to the top. Once you can focus on it in the appropriate way. That's my perspective.
Right.
I agree, but it is so hard. We've got the same thing where we are at the Mental Health Foundation, and you can't do this. This stuff is so serious, and to do it via Zoom and to do it right. But I agree. Super important.
Okay.
All right. Anything else?
Great. That's
Okay,
it.
so I need a motion to go into closed session.
So
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 moved.
moved.
Support.
Excellent. So we're gonna flip off and we're gonna go to the other.
We have to
Actually-
vote on that?
Yeah.
Let's vote. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. So we're gonna close it out.
Oh,
Yeah, hold on, Christy.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Let's stay on.
Okay.
We decided we'll stay on. We'll let everyone else go off.
Oh, good.
We'll go from there. Sorry, Walt was playing around with it beforehand and there was one glitch we had with it, so we didn't want to make it too complicated for everybody.
That's easier for us. Now they can go to the other Zoom.